Have you ever felt like your sweet, agreeable child went to bed one night and just woke up the next morning as a tiny, argumentative lawyer? I mean, if you've got a 7 to 10-year-old, you are nodding your head right now. So, let's get into it. Let's talk about this surprising and honestly often confusing developmental shift.
It's a question pretty much every parent asks. One minute they're drawing happy little suns, and the next they're cross-examining you on the structural integrity of the dishwasher loading technique. It can be so frustrating, right? But what if I told you this wasn't them taking a turn for the worse? What if it's actually a major leap forward for their brain?
Well, psychologists actually have a name for this phase. They call it the age of reason. And it's a huge milestone where a kid's brain literally shifts gears. Think of it like this. They're moving away from the magical, imaginative thinking of early childhood, and they're booting up a brand new operating system, one based on logic and concrete facts. And that, my friends, changes everything.
So, in this explainer, we're going to break down how this age of reason shows up in everyday life. We'll look at why they suddenly seem to have an attitude, what's behind that performance brain freeze, their intense new need for agency, and, yes, the surprising logic behind all that rule policing. Let's jump in.
Okay, first up, the constant arguments. It can really feel like your kid is suddenly questioning your every single move. And yeah, it can come across as a whole lot of attitude. But let's look a little closer at what's really going on.
This is where our minds go, right? It's the default interpretation. You ask them to clear their plate, and they hit you with, "But why? I cleared it yesterday." It feels like pure defiance, like a direct challenge to your authority. But their brain is actually up to something else entirely.
Okay, this is where we reframe the whole thing. What we see as defiance is really them just practicing a brand new skill. Logic. They've discovered this incredible new tool in their brain, and they have to test it out on everything. That arrogance you might be sensing, that's actually their sense of right and wrong starting to form. And what looks like pure laziness, well, that's often something very different.
So here's the big takeaway for this part. When they argue, they aren't necessarily trying to undermine you. They're like a video game character who just unlocked a new power-up. They have to use it. They have to push all the buttons and see what happens. They're testing the boundaries of reason, seeing how arguments are built, and figuring out if they hold up.
And this brain battery idea really hits the laziness point home. I mean, think about it. After 8 hours of following rules, learning new things, and navigating complicated social stuff at school, their mental energy is just gone. Their brain battery is blinking red. So when they get home and can't even handle putting their shoes away, it's not defiance. It's genuine cognitive exhaustion. They're just toast.
All right, let's move to the next puzzle, the dreaded brain freeze. This is that moment when you absolutely know they know the answer to something, but they just can't get it out. You're helping with homework, you're quizzing them for a spelling test, and you met with that blank stare or a frustrated, "I don't know." It is maddening because you just went over it 5 minutes ago. You start to think they weren't paying attention or they're just trying to be difficult. But the reality of what's happening in their head is so much more complex. This isn't about attention at all. It's about anxiety. Being put on the spot can trigger a stress response that literally shuts down the part of their brain that retrieves information. Their brain basically switches into survival mode. And this all boils down to a new concept called the performance conscious. As their logical minds develop, so does this brand new, super sharp awareness of being judged as right or wrong. The pressure to perform, even if it's just for you, can be completely overwhelming.
So look, here's exactly how it happens. It's like a chain reaction. Step 1, you ask a simple quiz question. Step 2, their new performance conscience kicks in, and it triggers anxiety. Step 3, the brain reads this anxiety as a threat, and bam, it goes into survival mode, cutting off access to higher-level thinking. And then, poof, the answer is just gone.
Next up, let's talk about the classic power struggle. You know this one. You suggest a totally brilliant, fun idea, they immediately shoot it down, and then 10 minutes later, they present the exact same idea as if it was their own stroke of genius. It is so easy to label this as a know-it-all attitude or just pure arrogance, but it's not really about them thinking they're smarter than you. It's about a deep developmental need for what's called agency, that feeling of being in control of your own life and your own choices. And this is the absolute heart of it. In order to use their new logical brain effectively, they need to feel like they are choosing their path, not just following your orders. So by rejecting your idea and then reproposing it, they're taking ownership. They are making it their logical conclusion, not just another command they have to follow.
And finally, let's talk about the emergence of the little rule enforcer. The hall monitor of the household, the kid who suddenly feels it is their sworn duty to report every single tiny infraction committed by anyone, anywhere.
Dad stayed up 5 minutes past his bedtime. Her foot is on the couch. He didn't push his chair all the way in. It feels so petty and annoying, and it seems like they're just trying to get everyone else in trouble.
But you guessed it, it's not really about being petty. This is their moral logic kicking into high gear. They aren't really trying to get people in trouble, they're trying to confirm that the world operates on principles that are fair, consistent, and predictable. For them, they need the world to make logical sense. So here's the bottom line. For their newly logical brain, if a rule exists, it's not a suggestion, it's like a law of physics. It has to apply to everyone, all the time, equally. If it doesn't, the entire system feels broken and illogical to them. They aren't trying to be the fun police, they're just trying to make sure their world still makes sense.
So let's wrap all this up with a new lens, a new way of seeing things. The next time your kid argues, try to see it as them practicing logic. When they freeze up and say, "I don't know," recognize it as performance anxiety. When they reject your idea only to claim it as their own, know they are building autonomy. And when they tattle, see them as a little scientist who is simply testing the rules of fairness.
Shifting your perspective from seeing these behaviors as problems to seeing them as developmental milestones, well, it's a game changer. So I'll leave you with this question. Instead of getting frustrated, how will you see and maybe even celebrate your child's next attempt to use their brand new, incredible, and sometimes infuriating logical brain?